I'm Danny Shapiro. I'm the Director of Automotive Marketing at NVIDIA and focused on delivering solutions to automakers for the design, simulation, and production of vehicles, as well as development of systems inside the vehicle that are based on GPUs. And those include infotainment systems, navigation systems, and advanced driver assistance. NVIDIA is really at the forefront of so many different industries. And what's amazing is when you think about the technology that we've developed has enabled so many of our customers to do really amazing things. So whether it's superphones, supercomputers, or supercars, the GPU is at the heart of innovation behind all those different industries. What's exciting for us is when our customers take our technology and do things that we've never even envisioned. There are surgeons that have done work where instead of, when they're performing open heart surgery, having to stop the heart and go in and operate, they're now using GPUs and video cameras to enable them to operate on a beating heart. So video is shot of the heart while it's beating. The GPU analyzes that video and provides a stable, still image to the surgeon. Using a robotic device, then he can operate on what he thinks is a still heart, while the robot is moving in conjunction with the heartbeat and translating his motions to operate on that beating heart. So this is just one of those mind-blowing examples of how a graphics processor, something that originally was designed to play games, is able to help a surgeon save a life. So there's those types of capabilities, whether it's an oil and gas exploration, whether it's finance and banking, or making cars safer. That's really gratifying for myself as an NVIDIA employee to see our technology in use. Well, I've been involved in computer graphics for 25 years now and always been kind of focused on the animation industry, visual effects, and new applications for GPUs. And that's gone into oil and gas exploration and medical imaging, for example. My focus now is really on automotive. So not only how the GPU can help automotive companies basically shorten their design time of new vehicles. So taking things from a concept stage through the design, early concept, pre-production, and manufacturing, all rely heavily on the GPUs. Within the automotive industry, the GPU plays a very important role from early concept through kind of design, evaluation, virtual prototyping, pre-production to production and manufacturing. And so we're always looking for ways that we can shorten that design life cycle. And so the GPU helps to do that. What's interesting, though, is then to expand from just the production side of the car to taking GPUs and putting them inside the vehicle. So much like a GPU is used to do simulation of different visual effects, that GPU can simulate the real world for crash test simulations or wind tunnel types of simulations, but that GPU can also be used as an image processor. I think we're all pretty familiar with how backup cameras are becoming more and more part of regular vehicles. In fact, in the United States, there's a new law that will mandate in a few years that every vehicle has to have a backup camera. We're going to start to see more cameras, though, on the vehicle, front-facing cameras, side-facing cameras, that will make that driving experience much safer. The problem, though, is you have all this data coming into the vehicle, and what do you do with it? Well, the GPU, with all of its image and video processing capabilities, is perfectly suited to take that image data and interpret it and be able to give the driver useful information. So potential uses are pedestrian detection, where you can tell there's a pedestrian behind you, or at night there may be a pedestrian on the shoulder. The GPU can take that video information, analyze it, and give a warning to the driver if there's a pedestrian that's in the path of the vehicle. Other applications are lane departure warnings. So they're able to sense the lines on the road, and if the car strays too close to one of those lines, it will give the driver an alert. It might vibrate the steering wheel or give them another type of warning. Blind spot detection, again, can be used to prevent a lot of accidents. Cameras can sense that there are cars in the blind spot and let the driver know. One thing that's really interesting is the life cycle of products in automotive is much, much longer than anything we're used to in consumer electronics, PCs, or workstations. And so NVIDIA has a roadmap of constantly coming out with new processors every year. What we're doing is working with automotive customers to select the right processors to introduce into their vehicles to bring new features and functions to those cars. So, the entertainment for the rear seat or three-dimensional navigation are things that we deliver today. Moving forward, we're looking at replacing the dashboards and all the gauges and dials, replacing those with pixels. So having configurable or personalized digital instrument clusters is what's coming in the very near term. Moving further down the road, and we're talking not too far down the road, are a lot of these driver assistance features, where, again, sensing the environment, the GPU can determine what actions the driver should take, or potentially could be linked right into the driving systems, so cars will brake themselves instead of crashing into a vehicle in front of them. Or if they need to swerve to avoid something, they can do that. And once you start to combine that with navigation systems, or the lane departure and blind spot type of technologies, yes, you can have cars that will be able to navigate around. Now, I think it'll be quite some time before these are basically approved for total hands-off use. But I believe there will be certain situations where you could have controlled environments where they could be autonomous vehicles. So you could have special lanes on the highway where you get into that zone, and all the cars along that zone are autonomously driving vehicles, and they can maintain the proper distance. There can be situations where you might have special parking areas where you can go to the shopping mall or to the airport, get out of your car, you push a button in your car, and it will go park itself. And it would be a special lot just for cars that can park themselves. And that way, those cars would also be talking to each other, so they would know how to avoid each other or find open spaces. Now, when you return, say, to the airport, you would take out your mobile phone, hit a button, and your car would be retrieved automatically from that special parking lot and be delivered to the curb. So I think we're going to see phases of these types of autonomous situations. It's probably quite a ways off before the world is driving fully autonomous vehicles. And of course, you have lawyers that get involved, so that makes it a lot more complicated too. Well, everything we're doing is really focused on making a better experience in the car for the driver, for the passengers, and ultimately really making it a safer experience. So today there's a lot of distractions in vehicles. People have mobile phones with applications and all kinds of other information that they're trying to get at. Really what makes the most sense is to integrate that into the vehicle and do it in a way that's not somebody looking down at a device, but instead presenting the information at their eye level or on the windshield through a heads-up display. And so what we're trying to do is integrate those kinds of apps and technology into the car to have a digital dashboard. And again, by doing that, we can be presenting the information in a very rich and realistic way, so it's more glanceable, that the driver can easily identify what it is they need, or that the information being presented is context sensitive. So you don't always need everything that's on your normal dashboard at all times. So depending on the driving situation, a digital instrument cluster would present the information that's most relevant at that point in time. And if there's some kind of an alert, that alert can grow larger or change color and be more dynamic. In addition, it gives the customer, the driver, the opportunity to personalize their vehicle. So you can imagine having different kinds of skins or color schemes or layouts that suit their personal preference or desire. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of personal taste, but also presenting the right kinds of information, potentially integrating camera feeds into that display or other types of signals or alerts as well. So initially what we're talking about is having these elements be three-dimensional objects. And so you can get a sense of depth or transparency. Potentially, we could go through an auto-stereoscopic, so you'd have a true 3D experience, but that's still some ways off. I think in terms of having the display technology that's affordable and to be able to put it into an automobile is still a little ways off. One thing, however, though, that is working very nicely today are heads-up displays. And so what that does is a projector shines onto the windshield, and you see basically what looks like it's floating above the car, the hood of the car, different types of information. And so what it probably is not too far off is a little bit of augmented reality where you can envision not just the speed limit sign that your speed limit, but in fact some navigational information. So you're driving, instead of having to look down at something, you're looking out the window and your navigation instructions are displayed right there on the screen. And you potentially could get to the point where you might even have virtual street signs that are out there telling you where to go, and as you drive by, they essentially would pass you, and a new street sign would be generated by the GPU.